I live in those dream places, and one of the reasons I live there is because I talked about my dream early in my life.
One of the fastest, best, quickest, most efficient ways to achieve success is by trying to become better each and every single day and not settling for second place. You need to make sure that you're constantly striving to become the greatest you possibly can day in and day out. And that's going to take time and energy, 100% guaranteed. That can mean making hard decisions that are going to make you uncomfortable, or letting people go, or bringing people into your life that you truly don't know, but you know are there for you. And you need to build a team around yourself of people who encourage you, but also let you know when stuff sucks. And they are going to let you know in a good way, a little tough love. You also have to know that second place is no longer acceptable.
And I get emotional even saying this, but I would walk up to the front door and I'd expect it almost after a while.
If you get second, you need to make sure that once you place the second place, you are constantly thinking and improving how to figure out a way to get better than you just did, because there's always room for improvement. That is the biggest room in the entire world, room for improvement, because good just isn't good enough anymore.
I'm not going through this life on the average track.
You're now in the game of being perfect. You're going to have to make sure all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted if you really want to be successful and become one of the top people of your field. You need to make sure that you're constantly gaining as much information as possible, making the connections that are going to be vital in your pathway to success, because a lot of times it's not about what you know, but it's about who you know.
The messier your life is, probably the happier you are. The most out of control you've ever been in your life, here's my bet, you were the happiest. Diamond Bar, California. That's where I grew up. I was born in Boston, but I'm from Diamond Bar, California. I grew up in the place probably that's one of the harder places to come from to win. I always say this because I think if you grow up really wealthy, then you kind of have access to stuff. You sort of model successful behavior. There's some downsides. Maybe you grow up a little softer or whatever, right? If you grow up really poor, I think you know what you don't want, right? There could be some inherent advantages to that. I come from like middle to lower middle class, probably middle class, I guess. I think sometimes that's the more difficult place to go through because it wasn't unbelievably uncomfortable growing up, but there weren't all these examples of mega success either. And so I grew up with a lot of, like many of you can relate to this, I grew up in a family with a lot of stress, a lot of strife, a lot of tension. And so I don't know that as a kid, I consciously thought all the time about what I wanted. I was trying to get through another day. And so, but I did grow up as an athlete. I thought I was gonna be a professional baseball player. That's sort of what everybody thought I was gonna do, what I thought I was gonna do. And so everyone can relate to this. Your first big dream didn't work. That could be a relationship, a marriage you were in. It could be a business. It could be you're going to get your master's. For me, it was baseball, right? And it ended, I could write business. I learned how to close. I went to Tom Hopkins seminars. I believed in the product. I could write business and close. I could not figure out recruiting. And when I could get recruits, I couldn't figure out how to keep them. I couldn't figure out how to build a team. And I just struggled with that for years in the business. I mean, like having even 15 people I couldn't do, for like year after year. And then when I would get people, they wouldn't get developed. And I just struggled at developing people. I was not good at keeping or developing people in my business. So I've always made money. Like when you hear the stories of when I went broke, that's mainly when I left that company. Like I've always made money. I've always paid my bills here. I've always produced. People ask my wife all the time, well, what did you do when he was struggling? And she's like, that didn't really happen. I always made sure we had food on the table. There's no reason for anybody in our company to be struggling financially when you have a pen. There's no reason whatsoever not to be able to write business. You're just lazy. You just flat out don't work hard. You work in spurts. You don't work consistently. You don't make phone calls every day. You don't make approaches and contacts regularly. Because you don't do that, you may have intermittent production issues. But if you just work at the business consistently, you'll make money here. I think that identifies most people's lives. In other words, the average becomes sort of like this slow asphyxiation. It's almost like an anesthetic, and that over time we become kind of immune and dulled to the average that we're becoming. I know this is true, at least for me. And so over time, we sort of minimize where we're at. In other words, I'm a little pudgy instead of being, no, you're a fat ass, right? You don't magnify the degree to which the pain ought to be affecting you. And so really what he means in that is, listen, you're gonna get out of your life what you'll accept. That's really difficult for people, I think, to understand. Is look, what you think you're worth and what you're going to tolerate is absolutely what you're going to bring into your life and what the outward part of your life is going to look like. And so I live by that. Like I let myself sort of feel the pain and the difficulty of being not where I want to be in whatever that area is, whether it's my spirituality, my relationships, my money. I let myself feel that pain because, as you know, there's two motivators, right? There's the gaining of pleasure, right? Wanting to go get something, chasing the dream, but then there's the avoidance of pain.
And for a lot of champions, that's a pretty big driving force for them. And so at least for me, I leverage both of those things on me to get myself to take action.
Let me tell you one thing I've noticed about all the max out performers that I've interviewed on my program and that I've known throughout my life for the last 30 years really in business, sports, entertainment, politics, you name it. The elite performers look at time and use time completely differently to begin to think about time and utilize time differently. So let's start out. The first thing I want to tell you about people who win, who max out, than the people who are average, and I'm not kidding you when I say this, they're in a bigger hurry to get to their destination. They walk faster, they talk faster, and their expectation when they're going to arrive at their destination is sooner. This may seem like a very small, subtle thing, but I want you to evaluate how big of a hurry are you in? Because there's something to be said about how close you think you are to a goal and how fast you will run to get to the finish line. And so because the destination, because the finish line is so far away, our pace or our hurry is limited based on how far away we think we are or when we'll arrive there.
Thank you all so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And let us know what you thought down in the comment section below.